The forgotten kindness. The galaxy had grown old, its stars dotted with empires that rose and fell like the tides of ancient seas. Among those empires was the Xylari Concord, once renowned for their scholars, artisans, and their gift of compassion in a universe where cruelty was the norm. But compassion had not made them strong, and now, in their waning age, it seemed destined to be their undoing. The Dravari Empire, ruthless and ever-expanding, had already consumed 3 smaller nations. Their fleets loomed over Xylari border systems like predators circling wounded prey. The Concord's defense forces, though honorable, were outdated and thinly spread. Every allied state that once promised mutual defense had either fled or signed quiet treaties of surrender. The Xylari were alone. Almost alone. Ambassador Thalen of Xylari Prime stared out of the viewport as his shuttle approached the Terran diplomatic hub, a massive human-built station in neutral orbit. He was gaunt, his eyes tired, his species' once vibrant silver skin dulled with age and worry. The thought gnawed at him. Humans will not help. They cannot. Yet I must ask. For the Xylari remembered something the galaxy had long forgotten. Centuries earlier, long before humans spread across the stars, a small colony ship had drifted powerless at the edge of an unclaimed system. Its engines were crippled by an asteroid strike, its life support failing. The passengers, fragile, young, desperate, were dying. Most alien fleets ignored it. Some predators considered scavenging, but the crippled vessel wasn't worth the fuel to board. Only the Xylari, a small exploration convoy mapping new jump lanes, chose differently. They did not understand the humans' language then, but they understood fear. They saw the ragged survivors huddled against the cold. They gave air, water, food, and repaired what they could before guiding the little ship back to a habitable world. When the humans bowed, wept, and tried to offer gifts they did not have, the Xylari only replied in simple galactic trade tongue, "Life must aid life." It was a minor act, recorded in both species archives and quickly forgotten by all, except the humans. The shuttle docked. Thalen adjusted his ceremonial robes and entered the human council chamber. It was a vast circular hall, banners of Earth and its colonies displayed proudly. Around the room, representatives watched curiously, some wary, some indifferent. At the center sat the Terran Assembly, leaders from Ith, Mars, Luna, and dozens of outer colonies. Their eyes were sharp, their expressions unreadable. Ambassador Thalen of the Xylari Concord, the speaker intoned. "You are recognized." Thalen stepped forward, his voice steady though his heart pounded. "Honored humans, I come not as a beggar, but as a debtor. My people face annihilation by the Dravari Empire. No state days aid us. We do not expect you to risk war for us. But I come to remind you, long ago, when your kind were weak, we saved you." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some of the younger human delegates looked puzzled, but the older ones nodded faintly, as though recalling half-forgotten lessons. "We repaired a failing ship," Thalen continued. "We fed starving colonists. We gave, though we expected nothing. Perhaps it was meaningless to the galaxy, but to us, it was right." He paused, searching their faces. "Now I ask, not for pity nor charity. I ask if humanity remembers." Silence fell. The council members exchanged glances, and one by one, screens lit up with records. Old footage appeared in the chamber. Humans in ragged clothing, weeping as Xylari engineers shared food. A damaged colony ship limping behind alien escorts. Thalen lowered his head. "That is all I have to say." He expected polite dismissal, perhaps even sympathy. Instead, he felt the air change. The humans were not laughing, nor pitying him. Their expressions had hardened, like iron recalling the forge. A single phrase, spoken by the assembly chair, cut through the silence. "Humanity remembers." For the first time in weeks, Thalen's heart surged with something he thought lost. Hope. Yet he also saw something else flicker in their eyes. Something colder, sharper. Not the soft mercy of his people, but the grim resolve of predators who had just been given cause to bare their teeth. And in that moment, though he did not fully grasp it, The galaxy's balance had shifted, because humans did not forget debts. And when they repaid in full. The weight of debt. The Terran Assembly chamber remained silent long after Ambassador Thalen departed. His words lingered like smoke, reminding humanity of a promise not yet spoken, but already binding. Chancellor Morarilian of Mars was the first to break the quiet. Her voice was measured, yet sharp. We stand at a crossroads. The Xylari seek protection, not out of alliance or trade, but because of a debt. A debt owed centuries ago. Governor Hiro Tanaka of Luna leaned forward. With respect, Chancellor, are we to risk war with the Dravari? They are an empire of hundreds of systems. Their fleets dwarf ours. Do we place billions of human lives at risk for one fading species? Others echoed the concern. Trade representatives spoke of lost commerce. Military officers listed projected casualties. To them, pragmatism outweighed sentiment. Then Elder Delegate Yusuf Darzi, one of Earth's oldest surviving counselors, rose slowly. His voice trembled with age, but carried the weight of history. I was a boy when I first learned of the Concord's gift. My teachers told me, we live because they chose mercy. Without their aid, our colony ship would have perished. Generations would have been lost. Perhaps humanity itself might never have reached the stars. He paused, eyes sweeping the chamber. We may argue trade, numbers, fleets, and fee. But beneath it all is this truth. Humanity does not forget kindness. Not in the deserts of old Earth, not in the void of space. A debt unpaid is a shame on all our houses. The debate continued into the night. News spread across human colonies. Citizens logged in to watch the Assembly's arguments live. On mining outposts, orbital cities, and terraformed planes, people whispered the same refrain. The Xylari saved us once. In markets, soldiers' barracks, and family homes, the mood shifted. What began as distant politics became something personal. Humanity's cultures, so varied, so divided on countless issues, shared one iron rule: a debt must be honored. Beyond human space, alien diplomats and spies followed the proceedings with amusement. On the Veshan Trade Network, commentators laughed. The humans are children playing Empire. They debate honor while the Dravari sharpen their knives. They'll talk themselves into ruin. In a shadowed chamber on Dravari Prime, strategists smirked. Let them march to war. Their fleets are crude, their numbers small. We will swat them aside. Humanity will learn fear. But their laughter overlooked a simple, dangerous truth. Humans did not weigh debts with coins, but with blood. By dawn of Terran Standard Time, the Assembly returned to vote. The chamber filled once more, the atmosphere heavy with anticipation. The vote began. One by one, colonies and worlds cast their decision. Some hesitated, some spoke with fire. But in the end, the result was unanimous. Chancellor Ilian rose to deliver the verdict. Her words would be replayed across every human system and beyond. The Terran Assembly recognizes the ancient kindness of the Xylari Concord. We declare that a debt owed is a debt repaid. Humanity will not abandon them. From this day forth, their cause is ours. She leaned forward, voice like steel. Mobilize the fleets. Across human space, the announcement struck like thunder. On Ceres shipyards, dormant factories roared to life, their furnaces forging warships. Workers cheered, pounding hammers against steel in rhythm. On Mars garrison, soldiers packed their gear, chanting, "A debt repaid," as they boarded transports. On Earth, citizens lit lanterns in their windows, a symbol drawn from old traditions. Light for allies, light for the owed. Even in distant colonies where fear whispered, resolve burned brighter. For humanity, this was not politics. This was honor. In the quiet of his quarters aboard the diplomatic station, Ambassador Thalen received the message. His hand shook as he read the Assembly's proclamation. Tears blurred his vision, yet a chill crept down his spine. He had asked for hope, for survival. What he had unleashed was something far greater, an oath binding a predator to its prey's defense. For the first time, he wondered if the Dravari knew what storm was coming. And so the galaxy watched. Some laughed still. Some dismissed it as folly. But in the hearts of those who understood, fear took root. Because humanity had spoken, they would repay the debt. The repayment begins. The first Dravari fleet arrived at the edge of Xylari space with the confidence of wolves descending upon sheep. 50 warships, sleek and gleaming, their hulls etched with the symbols of conquest. They expected an easy slaughter, a final culling of a species too weak to resist. What they did not expect were humans. The Terran Expeditionary Armada, hastily assembled yet terrifyingly vast, emerged from hyperspace like an avalanche. Hundreds of warships, blocky, industrial, scarred with utilitarian design, dropped into formation around Xylari Prime. They bore no ornaments, no flowing lines, only brutal efficiency, hulls layered with armor, railgun batteries bristling, missile silos yawning open like hungry maws. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy glimpsed humanity's full martial machine. The Dravari commander scoffed at the sight. Scrap heaps, he muttered, sneering at the human ship's ugly, angular silhouettes. He ordered his fleet to advance, certain that superior numbers and technology would crush these upstarts. The battle began. Dravari plasma lances tore across the void, slamming into the forward ranks of human cruisers. Shields flared, hulls cracked, and 2 Terran ships detonated in blinding bursts. The Dravari crew cheered, confident the slaughter had begun. Then the humans fired back. Railguns thundered, hurling slugs the size of buses at near-relativistic speeds. They punched through Dravari shields like paper, ripping warships open in gouts of fire and atmosphere. Missile swarms followed, guided by cunning algorithms, weaving through point defense grids before blossoming into cascades of explosions. The void became chaos. Where Dravari fleets fought with precision and caution, humans fought with something alien, ferocity. Terran captains rammed damaged ships into enemy cruisers, detonating reactors at point-blank range. Pilots launched fighters in suicidal swarms, overwhelming defenses through sheer persistence. Human marines boarded crippled Dravari vessels, cutting through bulkheads with plasma torches and fighting hand-to-hand in the dark. Losses mounted on both sides, but while the Dravari recoiled from death, humans embraced it, wielding sacrifice as a weapon. Every ship destroyed only bought time for the rest to strike harder, push further. To the Dravari, it was madness. To the humans, it was repayment. From the surface of Xylari Prime, Ambassador Thalen and his people watched the skies burn. They had braced for annihilation, expecting to see their world shattered by Dravari fire. Instead, they saw the banners of humanity flying beside their own, human ships forming a shield wall above their planet. The sight broke them. Many fell to their knees, weeping as the impossible unfolded. By the 3rd day, the Dravari fleet lay in ruins. 20 ships destroyed, 15 crippled, the rest fleeing in disarray. Humanity's losses were heavy, dozens of ships lost, thousands dead. But the humans did not mourn in despair. They mourned in silence, then rebuilt, reforged, rearmed. Survivors of the first great battle were recorded chanting over open comms, a phrase that would echo across the galaxy. A debt repaid, a debt repaid. The Dravari Empire reeled. Their warlords convened in fury, demanding explanations. How had these lesser creatures dared to defy them? How had they bled the Empire in open battle? Scouts brought back grim reports. Human shipyards burned day and night, producing fleets at a pace no one thought possible. Every colony world contributed resources. Every citizen volunteered labor or blood. Humanity was not simply helping the Xylari. Humanity was at war. In neutral systems, alien observers watched uneasily. The Kawaitage Union, mercantile and pragmatic, whispered, "The humans fight like cornered beasts, but they are not cornered." They chose this. The Savati, a warrior race long proud of their traditions, muttered in awe. They throw themselves into death and rise again. It is not war. It is vengeance. And in the farthest halls of power, fear spread. If humanity repaid one act of kindness with such terrifying fury, What would they do to those who had wronged them? In the aftermath of the battle, Admiral Celine Ward, commander of the Terran Armada, transmitted a message to all networks, unencrypted, for every species to hear. Her face was hard, her eyes unflinching. Know this. The Xylari are under our protection. They once gave us life when we were dying. Now we return that gift. An injury to them is an injury to us. To strike them is to strike humanity. She leaned closer, voice a blade in the silence. And humanity does not forget. The galaxy trembled, for it was no longer speculation. Humanity had bared its teeth, and the repayment had only just begun. The galaxy shudders. The Dravari had believed the first battle a fluke. A humiliation, yes, but not defeat. Their empire spanned hundreds of systems. Their fleets outnumbered humanity's 10-1. They thought the next strike would crush the Terrans utterly. They were wrong. Within months, the war escalated into a storm unlike anything the galaxy had witnessed in centuries. On Ceres shipyards, production lines thundered day and night. Entire cities were converted into foundries, smelting ore and assembling warships with industrial fury. Old freighters were stripped and reforged into carriers. Orbital platforms became missile silos. Humanity had not mobilized for war in generations, but now every planet, every colony, every citizen gave what they had. On Mars, millions volunteered. Farmers became gunners, miners became mechanics, students became soldiers. They sang old songs of endurance and defiance, marching into transports with eyes alight. The Dravari sent wave after wave of fleets. Each time, they were met not by hesitation, but by a human wall of fire. Battles stretched across systems, dogfights in asteroid belts, sieges in nebulae, brutal boarding actions inside shattered hulls. For every human ship destroyed, 2 more seemed to rise. For every colony burned, 10 billion swore vengeance. The Dravari had unleashed something they could not contain. The turning point came at the siege of Kauros. The Dravari massed their greatest armada, 300 ships, to smash through the Terran lines and reach Xylari Prime. They expected to find scattered resistance. Instead, they found humanity waiting. Admiral Celine Ward commanded from the carrier Iron Resolve. Her voice, calm as stone, carried across the fleet. They wanted war. We give them repayment. For Earth. For Mars. For the Xylari. Then the order. All batteries. Fire. The void lit up like a second sun. Railguns roared. Missiles streaked in endless swarms, and experimental weapons humanity had never dared to test were unleashed in desperation and in vengeance. Dravari formations shattered. Their disciplined maneuvers collapsed under the sheer ferocity of human assault. When the enemy tried to retreat, human frigates pursued them mercilessly, tearing them apart piece by piece. The Armada, once thought invincible, was annihilated in less than a week. Only a handful of crippled survivors limped back to Dravari space. From that moment, the war was no longer defense. It was conquest. Human fleets drove into Dravari territory, smashing shipyards, seizing supply depots, dismantling defenses with brutal efficiency. Orbital strikes crippled infrastructure, while cyber warriors infected networks, turning Dravari systems against themselves. The galaxy watched in shock. Empires that once mocked now sat in silence. Traders rerouted their ships, wary of crossing Terran fleets. Warrior species studied recordings of human battles, whispering uneasily, "They fight like Deathworlders." Perhaps Weiss. In council chambers across the stars, the question grew. If this was how humans repaid kindness, what would they do if betrayed? At last, the Dravari sued for peace. Their envoys came crawling, their arrogance shattered, their empire fractured. They offered territory, riches, slaves, concessions. Humanity rejected them all. Admiral Ward delivered the response, broadcast unencrypted so all could hear. Humanity desires no tribute, no conquest, no slaves. We require only this. The Xylari shall be free, untouched, and protected. Their survival is our repayment. Nothing more, nothing less. It was not mercy. It was principle. The war ended not with humanity's rise to empire, but with the Dravari's collapse into shame. Their neighbors, once cowed, began tearing at their weakened borders. Their fleets, once feared, became a memory of hubris broken by fire. And the Xylari, once destined for extinction, stood alive, their people saved, their culture preserved. They tried to thank the humans, but found no word strong enough. Ambassador Thalen, old and frail, spoke softly before the Terran Assembly. You have given us more than life. You have given us proof that kindness does not vanish in the void. We will remember, as you remembered. Across the galaxy, silence followed. Not the silence of peace, but the silence of fear. Because every species had seen it, humanity mobilized not for conquest, not for gain, but for death. And if they could annihilate an empire for a single kindness, what might they unleash for a betrayal? The galaxy shuddered. The final declaration was engraved in history, spoken by the Assembly itself. A kindness given is never forgotten. A debt repaid is never small. To harm those we protect is to summon the fury of humanity. Remember this. And the galaxy did remember. Forever.